Welcome back to the Underground. I thought I'd jump into something that doesn't really come to the surface a lot because it's one of the first things we do, and it's not particularly pretty and as a fresh paint job or something like that. So, but it's absolutely core to a good build, and that is metalwork. And in this case, this is what I call skins, or the sheet metal of a car. There's also metalwork in the core construction of the body. If it's a unibody or a body-on-frame core structure, that's a whole other thing. That's something I refer to as fabrication. This is metal shaping, what the British call panel beating. What I've got here are just kind of a couple of examples of what we do and what goes on in the background. This is a Abart Record Monza. So this was a car that had a lot of damage in the sheet metal, not so much in the core structure. These cars are based on a Fiat 600, and the core structure, the floors and the uprights were all in really good condition, but the alloy panels had suffered a lot. It was raced, as a lot of them were, and the wheel wells were all cut out and flared, and it had been smacked in the front several times, and just had a lot of damage, which was actually very typical of these cars. There's not a lot of support out here to support this alloy. That makes it, they're also very light as a result, but it also makes them really susceptible to damage. So in this particular case, this is a reconstruction or resurrection of a body back to how it was originally made. In that case, you will see a combination of new metal and original metal. The greenhouse is all original. The cowl section, the bonnet, the boot lid are all original alloy. A lot of the rest of it, the doors, the quarters, the front, the rear, below the deck lid, are all new metal. It's pretty extensive. I mean, it's typically you'll see repairs in areas. This is pretty extensive to go this deep to recover a body. You want to keep as much original as you can. So that's why you see a combination of old, and you can clearly see where it starts and ends, the original alloy versus our new stuff. It's challenging because a lot of these old alloys out of the 50s weren't the best, and they can be a challenge to weld and to deal with. They can get brittle over time. So they're a real challenge, but there's ways to deal with that. So this is a repair or reconstruction, and there's some tools that we use in creating these panels, and those are bucks and wire frames, and I'll show you a little bit about what those are and why we use one versus the other. So what you see here is a wireframe, and this is just one method to background or provide a shape to build to. Wireframes in a situation like this are for full builds, and like I said, this is a resurrection or a reconstruction. There's a lot of different methods to do this, and you'll see two of them right here. This is a wireframe, this is a wood buck. We'll do a wood buck for something like this where we're doing pieces. We want to do a wing or a front piece or something like that. We'll create a buck for that as opposed to doing a wireframe, because that's kind of a bad application for that. There's a lot of different methods and ways to do things in metal shaping, and including right down to how you shape and what tools you use. This will ultimately get turned into a full buck when we're happy with the shape. This was a design that we came up with fully in 3D that we then patterned out and constructed. So this wireframe was really a way to prove the design that we had in CAD in real 3D. And so from this, if we're happy with this and we are going to make a couple changes, we'll make a full wood buck out of that. This is a little peek at what happens behind the scenes, and you wonder how many hours it takes or why it takes a lot of hours to do a really large and complicated build. And this is the kind of stuff that happens in the background that takes up a lot of that time. It's just really intensive to do it right. And that, in this case of doing a reconstruction or repair, means recreating it in metal in the shape that it was. Not fillers, not fiberglass, not other materials or concepts, but as it was done in the alloys or steel in some cases that it originally was done. So that's kind of a snapshot of what happens before anything ever goes to the body shop. There's a lot of metal work. On the next video, we'll jump into the metal shop and show how these guys actually shape things. There's a lot of different tools, a lot of interesting ones, and a lot of different techniques that these guys have acquired over the years. So that stuff I find really interesting, and that'll be a cool one to watch. So please do like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.